Ireland to resume sending asylum seekers back to the UK by the end of May. Fatima Gunning, journalist with Gript Media. Welcome back to Riks Europe.
Thank you very much. A lot happening over here, as you are aware.
Yes. So can you tell us how does Ireland's plan to resume sending asylum seekers back to the UK reflect changes in how both countries are handling immigration?
Well, I don't think we've been very good at sending anybody anywhere, really. Like recent figures show that our Justice Department, I can't remember the exact figure, but it was a very large cohort of people who had their asylum claims refused. I think only 3 of them were deported. So, I mean, we have a shocking record on actually carrying out deportations. There was another case before the Supreme Court where an asylum seeker had come from the UK, where he had a conviction for a sex crime. He came here and was not added to the sex offenders register. So we're also failing in terms of, security when people are coming in who have convictions like that. On the Sunak fiasco, he has initiated the flights to Rwanda earlier was it this week or last week? Time is moving very quickly. But our Justice Minister, Helen McEntee, said that some 80% of people coming to Ireland claiming asylum are now coming from the UK, which is obviously, it's not a war-torn country, and Rishi Sunak actually said that this figure was proof that his Rwanda deal is working. So he's obviously saying, well, they don't want to go to Rwanda, so they're going to Ireland, like job done for him because he's getting them out of the UK. And then there was a little bit of a fiasco where our Deputy Prime Minister, our Taoiseach Micheál Martin, said that the Department of Justice figures were not based on facts. So, that was obviously a pretty, politically embarrassing situation for the government. I don't exactly know I know that my colleague Gary Kavanagh, he asked for an FOI from the Department of Justice to calculate where the figures were coming from. I'm not sure if they've answered him yet. They tend to be quite slow giving back FOI information. But there have been calls. A TD, Michael Healy-Rae, he called for a Rwanda-like deal for Ireland so that we would have a similar plan. I know this morning, I think it was in the news that Rishi Sunak had offered Ireland to join up to the Rwanda scheme. Now, I'm hearing from a journalist who has quite close ties, I understand, to the Fine Gael political party, which is the party of the Minister for Justice and the Taoiseach, that the Irish government is likely, or may even have in the last few minutes, rejected this offer. So right now there seems to be kind of a mood that the Irish government is trying to blame Rishi Sunak for our woes, which is ridiculous, really, because, we've been failing to enforce the laws that we do have surrounding immigration. And they're also, the Justice Minister is also trying to push this narrative that, like, look, these figures, the Rwanda deal, all this stuff that's going on right now, this is proof that we need to sign up to the EU Migration Pact. And I don't know if your viewers will have seen, but there was a really devastating exchange between Helen McEntee, and independent TD Michael McNamara, where he read figures to her and he was like, Minister, you have basically, your department is completely failing to enforce the laws that we do have. So in what way is bringing yet more laws going to fix this problem? So the government is in a mess, and It's a bit of a mess, to be honest, at this point.
What is the public discourse surrounding Rishi Sunak's statements and also saying that he won't take the asylum seekers back? What are the reactions of the public?
Well, I mean, I think that, during the Brexit debate, the Irish government kind of demanded that there be no border between the UK and Ireland. Like, unfortunately, there is a kind of a, Irish history is very complicated, and the north of Ireland is legally still belonging to the UK. So the Irish government demanded that there be no physical border there. And then he's kind of saying, okay, so you didn't want a border during Brexit, but you want one now. So I think there's perhaps from the English government perspective, there might be a little bit of hypocrisy there. But I don't really think that the Irish people are blaming Rishi Sunak or the UK government for what's happening. I think that, if anything, people like the 80% of people, according to a recent poll, who think that the government has taken in too many migrants, particularly asylum seekers and refugees, if anything, they probably would like to see Ireland join a similar pact with, maybe another, if not Rwanda itself, then maybe another safe, willing African nation.
And what are the biggest problems coming up in managing this agreement, and especially with changing migration and the effects on asylum seekers?
Well, so there was a bit of, I would say quite ridiculous scenes over the last few days where about 200 tents we have an international protection office where, you go to make your asylum claim, or 77% of the asylum claims recently have been made there. But there were 200 tents filled with men, a lot from African countries, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and recently more Palestinians, or people saying they're Palestinian at least, parked outside this office. And they've been living there in absolutely squalid conditions for, it's got to be several months at this stage. And there was a bit of a fiasco where they were moved over the St. Patrick's Day. When we have all the American tourists coming in, I love Ireland, and we had to get the poor asylum seekers off the street because it wouldn't look good for the tourists. But of course, right after that, they came back. They're back on the street. And now they have been moved away to other places. And one of them is Crooksling, which is a former nursing home. They've moved some of them into there, and they've put barricades. I don't know if they're still there, but right after they moved them, they put these huge barricades on the street so that they couldn't come back. And I think the Gardaí have been instructed to ensure that they do not come back. So what actually ended up happening was there's a really very leafy, affluent suburb in Dublin where they've now popped up there. So it's like these shanty towns they're like moving shanty towns. So once you kick these asylum seekers off the street in Dublin city centre, they move to the leafy suburb. So this problem, it's ridiculous. It's literally like whack-a-mole. It's like a problem pops up here, the government whacks it, then it pops up here. And all the while, they still have put no cap on the numbers coming in, and they're not engaging in effective levels of deportation. So this problem is just getting worse and worse and worse.
What are your predictions for the development around this?
So I don't know if you know, but there was a bit of a very big news story there last week, where there was a protest. So people in this little town, tiny town in County Wicklow, where I'm from, called Newtown Mount Kennedy, they had learned that an old disused building that used to be a respite home for, disadvantaged kids, that this place was going to be turned into an asylum facility. Another one, there's now 282, I think, is the latest figure. So they learned that was going to be used to house 160 single male migrants. And when people hear that, they, from what they tell me, they're fearful because these men are unvetted. They're coming into their tiny village. What are they going to do all the time is what I frequently hear. But those people had been staging a peaceful protest for a month. And then about week 5, the public order unit, the public order unit, I guess you probably have something similar in Sweden. They came and there was, a bit of unrest. Then fast forward to last Thursday, there were 50 riot police. These are the guys with the helmets, the shields, the batons, the pepper spray, the jackboots, the real kind of scary RoboCop-esque guys. They were sent down and, they charged the people. There was what would you say, harsh words exchanged. There was obviously people being very angry and upset, but it turned into a full-scale well, it looked like a war zone. I was there, like I got pepper sprayed in the midst of it, but it was crazy. Yeah, the police were chasing people off the street, the really tiny road in the middle of the countryside with nothing there. They were chasing them down the street. They chased people into residential estates. They pepper sprayed people. I know a lady is pressing charges because she alleges that they came around her vehicle and broke off the wing mirrors. Like, there was people injured. Like, you know, in fairness, there were some protesters were throwing stones and fold up chairs and that kind of thing at the riot squad. Like, so, you know, there was back and forth, certainly. But now the kind of the national conversation is, well, were the police justified in their use of force in that situation? And, you know, are the government telling us the truth? Because all you really hear from our Prime Minister is that he's condemning attacks on Garda Síochána. He's condemning attacks on the police. But a lot of, independent politicians and also members of the public are saying, well, wait, who actually started this? What actually went on here? And just to reiterate again that the level of mistrust in Ireland right now towards politicians, towards the mainstream media, and unfortunately, increasingly towards our police force, it's off the charts. It's gotten so bad that, like, I don't think anybody believes hardly anything they hear.
Thank you, Fatima Gunning, journalist with Gript Media.
Thanks so much.
And thank you for watching Riks Europe.